No, that's when they're not in front of us.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Nirvadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Nirvadhari Yashodanandana Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gohar Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 30, the activities of the Prachetas. Today's text is number 13. Kando pramlochaya labdha. Kanya Kamalalochana Tang Chapavidhang Jagrihur Buruha Nripanandana Kando Pramlochaya Labdha Kanya Kamalalochana Tang Chapavidhang Jagrihur Bhuruha Nripanandana Kando Pramlochaya Labdha Kanya Kamalalochana Tang Chapavidhang Jagrihur Buruha Nripanandana Bolo.
Kanda Pram Lokshaya Labda Kanya Kamala Lochana Tamcha Vidam Jagrihur Buruha Nripanandana
Okay. Word for word. Kando of the sage Kandu. Pramlochaya by a heavenly society girl named Pramlocha. Labdha obtained. Kanya daughter. Kamalalochana lotus-eyed. Tam her. Cha also. Apavidham given up. Jagrihu accepted. Bhuruha the trees. Nripanandana O sons of King Prachini Barhishat. So this is Lord Vishnu continuing to address the Prachetas. Translation: O sons of King Prachini Barhishat, The heavenly society girl named Pramlocha kept the lotus-eyed daughter of Kandu in the care of the forest trees. It gets even more far out. Keep listening. Then she went back to the heavenly planet. This daughter was born by the coupling of the Apsara named Pramlocha with the sage Kandu. Please repeat. O sons of King Prachani Barhishat, the heavenly society girl named Pramlocha kept the lotus-eyed daughter of Kandu in the care of the forest trees. Then she went back to the heavenly planet. This daughter was born by the coupling of the Apsara named Pramlocha with the sage Kandu. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Whenever a great sage undergoes severe austerities for material power, the king of heaven, Indra, becomes very envious. All the demigods have responsible posts for the management of universal affairs and are very highly qualified with pious activities. Although they are ordinary living entities, they are able to attain responsible posts like Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna. As is the nature of this material world, the king of heaven, Indra, is very anxious if a great sage undergoes severe austerities. Because with that tapas, you get a lot of power. The whole material world is filled with such envy that everyone becomes afraid of his neighbors. Every businessman is afraid of his associates because this material world is the field of activities for all kinds of envious people who have come here to compete with the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Indra was very much afraid of the severe austerities performed by the great sage Kandu. And he sent Pramlocha to break his vows and austerities. A similar incident took place in the case of Vishvamitra. From other incidents in the Shastras, it appears that Indra has always been envious. Who did Indra send to seduce Vishvamitra? Anybody know the pastime? Menaka. She was another one, heavenly society girl. And then they had a daughter named Shakuntala, famous. From other incidents in the Shastras, it appears that Indra has always been envious. And he's the king of heaven. When King Prithu was celebrating various sacrifices, here's another one, outdoing Indra, Indra became very envious. And he disturbed King Prithu's sacrifice. This has already been discussed in previous chapters. King Indra became successful in breaking the vow of the great sage Kandu, who became attracted by the beauty of the heavenly society girl Pramlocha and begot a female child. This child is described herein as lotus-eyed and very beautiful. Being thus successful in her mission, Pramlocha returned to the heavenly planets, leaving the newborn child to the care of the trees. Now, trees aren't ordinarily famous for being big caregivers, but we're going to learn more about that later in the class. Fortunately, the trees accepted the child and agreed to raise her. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam jena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, so when Gorsan the Prabhu gave class yesterday, he read the verse about the Lord blessing the Prachetas to have a great son named, anybody remember, Vishruta. So today's verse starts the Lord's explaining or revealing of how that son would come to be. In his purport to today's verse, Srila Prabhupada chooses, there's so much that that's in the verse that Prabhupada could have discussed, but he chose to discuss Indra, who sent the Apsara Pramlocha to seduce the sage Kandu, giving birth to a beautiful girl who would become the Pracheta's wife eventually. That's what would happen. And her name would be Marisha. And she would become the mother of their great son. Interesting that she's going to marry all the Prachetas. That doesn't, usually in Vedic history you hear a man being sometimes having many wives, but you don't usually hear of one lady having many husbands. There are exceptions. Who can think of? Draupadi, yes, that's the famous, right? So she's the exception that proves the rule. Okay, so Prabhupada, he just chooses to discuss Indra as he's kind of like envy personified. He's a very powerful demigod. But he envies great sages, because to become a great sage, they have to do this tapas. And he's afraid, he's becoming powerful, and I'm the king of heaven. He can't, become more powerful than me. And Prabhupada mentions Vishwamitra and Prithu, and today it's the sage Kandu. In Miami, I heard Prabhupada talk about, there's a verse in the Gita in the second chapter, and Prabhupada applied it to the demigods. Prabhupada says although they're jiva souls, they're just like us, but they're big by their desire and their tapas, they get responsible posts. Charge of the moon, moonlight and sunlight and the weather, like Indra. But they're devotees. To get that, they have to be blessed by Krishna to get those posts. But their posts are conditional. They want to serve Krishna in a certain capacity because they want to be able to control things. So you can imagine how it was like Mark Twain once had a saying. He said, "Everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it." This is typical Mark Twain, witty comment. But can you imagine if you could do something about it? Imagine if you were in charge of the weather, like Indra, like we saw at Govardhan, Indra he became very jealous. What are these cowards? What are they doing? Worshipping this boy. I'm going to teach them a lesson, right? And we saw what happened. He was humbled. He was humbled by Krishna. Yeah. So the verse is Bhogaishvarya Prasaktanam Taya Prabhupada quoted. Taya Parita Chetasam Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadho Navadhiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment, which certainly Indra is, and material opulence, which Indra certainly is, and who are bewildered by such things, The resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So he's a devotee, but sometimes he's overcome by envy because of his attachment. That's the whole point. The whole thing is it's all about attachment. We get attached and we get envious. And then Prabhupada said to us, this was in February 75 in Miami, Coconut Grove Temple, New Naimisharanya Forest. He said, you don't find devotees like the 6 Goswamis on the heavenly planets. Because the 6 Goswamis, they're just totally unattached to anything material, and they're just living very simply, and Nana Shastra Vichara Nayakanipa, they're scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures to write books for our benefit. Yeah. So when Prabhupada said that, he was reminding us of our good fortune. That we're coming in a line of devotees through the 6 Goswamis, and that's how we get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by going through the mercy of the 6 Goswamis like Sanatan and Rupa. And so it's like we were, wow. And of course, we were looking at Prabhupada, their representative. And he was especially somebody, you don't find devotees like Srila Prabhupada of the heavenly planets. Okay, so, so Indra sent Pramlocha to seduce Kandu, and she did. And but this is nothing new. We hear this in history. Anybody know any historical examples of people? Of course, we have an example of Chaitanya Lila of Haridas Thakur. He's resisting Maya Devi, the prostitute. But even in worldly history, we have examples of this. Anybody know any examples of people sending pretty ladies to seduce, to compromise powerful people, and then, yeah, well, it's happened. It's even Prabhupada mentions how beautiful women, when it was seen in their chart and by their manifest beauty, even as little girls, they were going to grow up to be, very beautiful, that they would be administered poison, little bits of poison. And then they built a tolerance for it. And then if somebody wanted to knock off an opponent or an enemy, they would send this girl, and she would seduce the man, and she would kiss him, and then he'd die immediately. Wow. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is, Prabhupada would say, this is politics. Anything goes in politics. All's fair in love and war. Yeah. So, so Indra got his comeuppance. And so that's what happens to Indra. He's attached to his position of being very powerful, and then he gets carried away with that power. I mentioned in a previous class, Mao Zedong's wife had a very astute observation. Mao Zedong, of course, the first premier of a president of communist China in 1949, and she was also his confidant, advisor. And so Mao Zedong's wife said, most people are bewildered by sex because they've never tasted power. Power, the ultimate intoxicant. Yeah. So Indra gets carried away because he can do all these, control the weather. Holy smoke. All right. So in the material world, we're all envious. Krishna opens the 9th chapter of the Gita by saying to Arjuna, Idam tate guhyatamang prabhakshami anasuyave. I shall now impart to you knowledge still more confidential. Oh, Arjuna, because you are never what? Envious of me. I shall impart to you knowledge still more confidential. Yeah, so that we have to become, if we want to know Krishna, we have to become non-envious of Krishna. And we're here because we did develop envy somehow or other. As the acharyas say, it's inconceivable, but somehow or other, we became envious of Krishna and we're here. Now, at the end of today's purport, after talking about Indra, Prabhupada says, Brahmlocha returned to the heavenly planets, leaving the newborn child to the care of the trees, as promised. We're going to talk about how this worked out. This is pretty supernatural. Fortunately, the trees accepted the child and agreed to raise her. Okay. So we don't really find out how this worked until later in the chapter, but I couldn't resist. Spoiler alert, we're going to look at a few chapters later a few verses later in the chapter. So how did that work? So we're going to look at texts 44 through 47. We're only on 13 today, but we're going to look ahead because Maitreya, when he's answering Vidura, he's describing all these things. He doesn't necessarily go in order. He jumps around. So he mentions that the trees took care of the daughter of Brahmlocha, but not until later does he describe how this worked. Let's look at 44 through 47. Okay. All right. So what happened was the Lord, basically from text 8 through 20, he was telling them that he's giving them boons, and he's telling them what's going to happen. And then he left. And in the meantime, Narada Muni had convinced Prachani Barhi finally to give up the kingdom. So he left too. So there was nobody in charge of the kingdom. Everything was going to seed, literally. Thereafter, all the Prachetas emerged from the waters of the sea, because they had been, remember this the whole time this is going on, they're underwater, again, this submarine darshan of the Lord. So they came out of the sea after 10,000 years of austerities. And what did they see? They then saw that all the trees on the land had grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the world. At this time, the Prachetas became very angry. So now they're coming out to assume the management of the world. And they're really mad that everything hasn't been maintained because their father left. So anyway, let's let Prabhupada say it. King Prachani Barhishat left his kingdom before his sons arrived after their execution of penance and austerity. So there was this gap where nobody's in charge. It's like right now, nobody's in charge of Gaza. Everybody's wondering who's going to manage this place, you know? And it's like a free-for-all there. King Prachani Barhishat left his kingdom before his sons arrived after their execution of penance and austerity. The sons, the Prachetas, were ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come out of the water and go to the kingdom of their father in order to take care of that kingdom. However, when they came out, they saw that everything had been neglected due to the king's absence. Nobody's in charge. They first observed that food grains were not being produced and that there were no agricultural activities because all the land had been taken over by the trees and they were just covering everything. There was no space for agriculture, and they appeared to be blocking, the way up to the heavens. Indeed, the surface of the world was practically covered by very tall trees. It seemed as though the trees were determined to stop people from going into outer space to reach the heavenly kingdoms. You might think, well, what's the matter with that? They should just go back to Godhead. But anyway, that's what it says. Although, one wonders if because that's what Barishat had been attached to, right? Karmakanda, and doing all so much that he could enjoy in the heavenly planets himself. But then Narada finally cut through and convinced him, no, now you got to do tapas and meditate on Krishna and go back to Godhead. Forget this up and down heavens and earth. And so one wonders if some of that desire in the father had been passed to the sons. It seemed as though the trees were determined to stop people from going into outer space to reach the heavenly kingdoms. The Prachetas became very angry when they saw the surface of the globe covered in this way. They desired that the land be cleared for crops. Yeah. Okay, you need that. And Prabhupada's going to mention this a little more. It is not a fact that jungles and trees attract clouds and rain, because we find rainfall over the sea. Human beings can inhabit any place on the surface of the earth by clearing jungles and converting the land for agricultural purposes. Prabhupada uses the word jungles. It's like, that's the way he says forests a lot. Jungles. People can keep cows, and all economic problems can be solved in that way. One need only work to produce grains and take care of the cows. The wood found in the jungles may be used for constructing cottages. Remember Prabhupada saying that to us in New Vrindavan. So that pine forest, you can cut. Ordinarily, we don't cut the trees, but to have shelter for yourselves, you can cut down that forest, some of the trees, and build your own little cottages. Yeah. Let's see. In this way, the economic problem of humanity can be solved. At the present moment, there are many vacant lands throughout the world, and if they are properly utilized, there will be no scarcity of food. As far as rain is concerned, it is the performance of jaga that attracts rain. Right, that's what really attracts the rain. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:14, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanya nanasambhava jagad bhavati parjanyo jagakarma samudbhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. Unquote. By performing sacrifice, man will have sufficient rainfall and crops. And then, let's see, who's speaking here? This must be Narada Muni. My dear king, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger. To make the surface of the earth completely treeless, the Prachetas also, no, this is not Narada. King Barishat. Anyway, it's Maitreya addressing Vidura, and it's what that says in the purport. O king, because he could control his senses. That's another way. That's another meaning of Raj. When you can control the senses, you're a great. You're a king. You're a king of your senses. You're not a Godas. My dear king, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger. So Maitreya is telling now what happened when the Prachetas saw that the trees had taken over the whole place. To make the surface of the earth completely treeless, the Prachetas also emitted fire and air from their mouths. Wow. Can you imagine? They were so angry. Yeah. Or like sometimes we say, if looks could kill, right? Right. In other words, if somebody looks at you like they want to burn you to ashes. Oh, we just have a saying now, but formerly they could. Who burned somebody to ashes in Krishna Lila? What's his name? Kalyavana was chasing Krishna, right? And then he went into a cave, and Muchukunda was sleeping, and Muchukunda was, so disturbed that he woke up, and as soon as he saw Kalyavana, he just burned him into ashes.
I relate to that. When I get woken up, I wish.
Yes, yeah. But all you just have is a wish. But people could do it if they had the tapas. Right. Okay, so then Maitreya is saying to Vidura, after seeing that all the trees on the surface of the earth were being turned to ashes, Lord Brahma, this is interesting. What happened was Lord Brahma intervened, just like he intervened when Hiranyakashipu, was getting powerful. Lord Brahma immediately came to the sons of King Barhishman and pacified them with words of logic. Prabhupada says, whenever there is some uncommon occurrence on any planet, Lord Brahma, being in charge of the whole universe, immediately comes to control the situation. So it's his responsibility. He feels, I can't let this happen. Lord Brahma also came when Hiranyakashipu underwent severe penances and austerities and made the whole universe tremble. A responsible man in any establishment is always alert to keep peace and harmony within the establishment. That's right. Yeah. Similarly, Lord Brahma is also allowed to keep peace and harmony within this universe. He consequently pacified the sons of King Barhishman with good logic. Now, here, listen how he did this. This is very interesting. But first, we're going to hear the next verse. Let's see here. Yeah, this is where we get the. This is how the trees took care of the daughter from Locha and Kandu. Now, the remaining trees, being very much afraid of the Pachetas, so the remaining trees, most of the trees have been wiped out. And so there were some, and they were trembling. Immediately, being very much afraid of the Prachetas, immediately delivered their daughter at the advice of Lord Brahma. So this was like a peace offering. Don't burn us to ashes. Here, take this beautiful girl. Okay, now purport. Here's what happened. Purport. The daughter of the trees is referred to in text 13, that's today's verse, of this chapter. This daughter was born of Kandu and Pramlocha, the sage and the heavenly society girl. The society girl, Pramlocha, after giving birth to the child, immediately left for the heavenly kingdom. While the child was crying, the king of the moon, see, it gets even more far out here. While the child was crying, the king of the moon took compassion upon her and saved her by putting his finger into her mouth. And because his finger was full of nectar. It's like little kids, they're sucking their mother's breast, or they have a pacifier. Do mothers do this? They put sweet on the nipples of the little pacifiers. They put something tasty. Okay. Yeah, to make it tasty. So this is what. So in the Gita it says, what is it? Gama vishichabhutani dharayam yaham ojasa. I become the moon. Pushnami chosadhik sarvak somo bhutva rasatmaka. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. So the moon makes everything very tasty by its moonlight. So he puts his, and every planet has a predominating deity. So Chandra put his finger in the little girl's mouth, and she was pacified. The king of the moon took compassion upon her and saved her by putting his finger into her mouth. You know, the mom had just left and gone back to heaven. There she was, abandoned, right with the trees. This child was cared for by the trees. Okay, we're going to get to how that worked. And when she grew up, by the order of Lord Brahma, she was delivered to the Prachetas as their wife. So listen to this. The name of the girl was Marisha. It was the beautiful girl, little girl. But she grew up and she became the wife of the Prachetas. As the next verse will explain. It was the predominating deity of the trees. So there's behind every phenomenon in nature, there's a predominating deity. So it wasn't that all the trees, but it was the predominating deity of the trees. It was the predominating deity of the trees that delivered the daughter who went to the Prachetas. In this connection, now Jiva Goswami explains, in this connection, Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada states, Vriksha tad adhishta tridevataha. Quote, the trees means the controlling deity of those trees, unquote. In Vedic literatures, we find that there is a controlling deity of the water. Similarly, there is a controlling deity of the trees. The Prachetas were engaged in burning all the trees to ashes, and they considered the trees their enemies. To pacify the Prachetas, the predominating deity of the trees, it wasn't Brahma directly. He petitioned he requested one of his servants, the predominating deity of the trees, under the advice of Lord Brahma, to pacify the Prachetas, the predominating deity of the trees, under the advice of Lord Brahma, delivered the daughter Marisha. So it was the predominating deity of the trees who went to the Prachetas and said, no, look, this beautiful girl is yours. She's your wife, and she is going to give you this wonderful son. So that the Lord had already predicted and he would be famous, and this is Vishruta. Okay. So that's what's going on in the higher dimensions. Moon god, nectar, fingers and mouth, and as above, so below. We have this kind of prosaically, mundanely reflected on earth. And now, oh yeah, I had something at the end. What was it? Something about Indra. What was it? Let's see. What do I say here? Note that Lord Brahma delivered Marisha to the Prachetas through the trees Devata, presiding deity, not directly. This was Brahma's relationship skill. So he knew, so Brahma is very intelligent. He's the most intelligent. So he knew that this is the way to reach the trees, or to reach the Prachetas through the predominating deity of the trees. And present the girl as a peace offering. Note also that the Prachetas, saintly as they were, had become so furious. They had just done 10,000 years of tapas. And the Lord had already said, because you were friendly, because your friendly dealings, I'm going to give you so many boons. I'm going to give you anything, everything. So they were very advanced, but still they became so furious that they wanted to incinerate all the trees on earth, because the trees appeared to be blocking everyone's path to the heavens. So can anybody think of somebody else who was very advanced but became, and even I'm not going to give it away. So advanced that this person became very furious and had to be petitioned by somebody else to stop their fury.
Lord Chaitanya.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, Lord Chaitanya. I was thinking of something else. Who did he petition? Who did he? Or who petitioned him?
Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, yeah. What did Lord Chaitanya say?
If you're gonna, take your wrath out on these two guys, you're gonna have to take your wrath out on everybody.
Because they're all like that. They're all jagas and bad eyes. Well, I was thinking that's good. That brings it right down to within historical time. You have a?
We did take his wrath out on everyone because he told them too, you're going to use a weapon. Our weapon in this age is the holy name.
Yeah, but he didn't. But that's a different kind of weapon. You don't kill people with a holy name. You do what? You kill the demoniac mentality, right? Yeah. Anyway, in the fourth canto, earlier in the same canto, we had a great soul, Dhruva Maharaj, who was so exalted. He saw God within 6 months. But then later after that, what did he try to do?
Really genocide.
He was trying to kill all the Yakshas, the entire race, because they had killed his brother. One for for killing one person. He wanted to kill the whole race. So who convinced him not to do that? Anybody remember? Swayambhuva Manu, actually. Swayambhuva. Don't do that. This is overkill. It won't be good for you. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we have time for this. Well, I guess I'll ask for any questions or comments too. I do have one challenge question for you in this regard, but I'll read the verse again. If you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. O sons of King Prachani Barhishat, is the Lord to the Prachetas, the heavenly society girl named Pramlocha kept the lotus-eyed daughter of Kandu in the core of the forest, in the care of the forest trees. Then she went back to the heavenly planet. This daughter was born by the coupling of the Apsara named Pramlocha with the sage Kandu. No questions, comments? Oh, yes.
Well, this is like probably my favorite part in the Bhagavatam. I don't know why, I just really like this story.
Which part?
The Pracheta is getting mad at the trees. It just cracks me up and makes me laugh. But that was interesting that you said, because I always wondered, well, why are they just so furious with the trees? But then you said, because it appeared that the trees were blocking people's path to the spiritual world.
And also there was no place to grow anything.
Right, they couldn't farm or anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, the people that were there seemed to be living, right? I mean, they could eat from the forest, no? Instead of farming.
Now, what yuga is this? It might have been Satya Yuga. If it's Satya Yuga, you don't even need to farm. Everything just sort of manifests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must not have been Satya Yuga then if they were used to farming,
Yeah.
and then that made them so mad. Anyway, yeah, I always just wondered why they were so enraged with the trees. And it's like, well, you just spent 10,000 years meditating and now you're just coming out.
Now you're angry?
You're completely enraged.
I thought you guys were controlled. What's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not mutually exclusive. This is the situation we have. Even if we're very controlled, then something can provoke us and trigger us, and all of a sudden we go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So as above, so below. So it's a cautionary tale for us what can happen. Doesn't take much. What was the other morning, was it yesterday? I think it was Chandrika was offering Tulsi Arti. Was it this morning? It was yesterday. Yeah. And then something got in your eye. What did you say?
I was saying that the incense hit my eye.
Oh, yeah.
I was streaming.
Your eye was streaming, and therefore you were kind of temporarily bewildered. You didn't know how to give me the water for purifying the hand. Yeah, it doesn't take much, at least for me, because consciousness is very fragile. It's the finest thing, And he, the soul, is higher than the intelligence. Krishna says, it doesn't take much to knock us off out of our, throw us for a loop. So we always have to be very careful and cautious about how we execute Krishna consciousness. And then the beauty is that even when we do get thrown for a loop, we're quickly helped back. Because what did I do? I just pointed to I said, no, you just do that. So then Chandrika gave me the water for that. She was temporarily bewildered. So I just told. So the devotees always help us, when we get thrown for a loop.
But I like the idea that you said where they were mad because the trees were preventing people's progress, their spiritual progress, basically. And I feel like if someone should be mad about anything, that should be it, right? We should be mad about when other devotees are potentially hurt or hindered, So
Yeah. Okay. So, well, it's getting really late, but my challenge question was something like, were you ever overcome by fury or whatever, but then you were saved by a devotee or your spiritual master from your bad course of action that you wanted to do?
Which time?
That happens daily.
Daily. Okay. Yeah, we're constantly being bewildered and coming back. Yeah. Like somebody said once to Bruce Lee, the famous martial arts guy. He said, Bruce, you're so great. You're so perfect in your moves. No wonder nobody can defeat you. And then Bruce Lee just laughed and he said, oh, I'm making mistakes every moment, but I correct so quickly that you don't notice. You don't notice it. Jai. All right. Tomorrow we'll hear text 14. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So you did 12 through 13?
No, I